All right, so we have Virginia Hammond up next. As a lifetime optimist, Virginia Hammond believes that when we have information, understanding, and decision-making skills, we make good decisions together. Dedicated to researching the foundations of our current political dysfunction, she found a practical path to a better future in monetary reform. So I would like to welcome Virginia Hammond on how we pay for a better world with just money, turning the economy right side up, which is a play on the book.
Can you see my slideshow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. We've heard some really excellent speakers on money system specifics. And like John, I'm expanding the topic a bit and addressing money as the foundation of and value setter for the economy. We're here today because we believe changing the money system is critical to the better world we imagine. My topic is a piece of the puzzle that will lead to our success and help answer John's question about how we make change a reality. At the Alliance, we call the money we want just money because it privileges no one and is not debt. We want a money system that has a steady value and supports the nurturance of real wealth, health, and happiness. Today, we know the economy is not working well for most people. Today, we know the economy is not working well for most people. There's too much crippling debt. Wealth is defined by current economics, and the power that goes with it is transferring from the many to the few at an alarming rate. Our goal of a nation of, by, and for the people is turning into a hazy dream. There are too many people exploited. Poverty, inequality, and injustice are rising. Civic violence is threatening to explode, and I'm coming from here in Portland, Oregon, so that was a particularly potent issue the last few months. Environmental degradation is an alarming existential threat that requires radical changes in our behavior on a massive scale, and we seem to be paralyzed or pushed into actions that are half-baked at best on these issues, even when simple and clear solutions are obvious and available. Today's money system keeps us in this state. For those new to money reform, we define money as the tool we use for exchanges of goods and services, and money is a unit of account to measure value and a store of value over time and distance. Private commercial bankers create 95% of our natural money as debt, national money. So as we need more money in the supply, we must go into more debt. And debt is by its nature an unequal relationship of debtor to creditor. Creating our money supply in this way establishes a tipped playing field as the basis of economic relationships in our society. Those with the privilege and power to create our money supply effectively rule us. The values and measures that bankers use to choose where new money goes first become the values of our society. So our society is driven by increasing consumption, increasing debt and servitude, monetizing everything possible, and growing bigger markets and monopolies. This system values profit making over the welfare of people and communities. We're not saying people shouldn't make any profit. The negative develops from considering profits more important than protecting life itself. This kind of money system is supported by three pervasive philosophical ideas: that a wealthy elite should rule, they should rule as apex predators in a food chain, and three, decision-making should be governed by the monetized marketplace. There are people who believe that the way of the world is for some to dominate and exploit others. The way of the world is for men to rule over women, for whites to rule over people of color, for the rich to rule over the poor. These believers are convinced that the world is meant to be a jungle in the sense that the strong devour the weak. It's therefore right to exploit some people. It's right to degrade the environment if money is to be made for a few. this is a world where it makes sense to say that if some people have to die for the economy to prosper, then so be it. When people see the economy as a place where wealthy elite should rule, and it's okay for people to die in service to profits, there's no reason to change the money system, because the money system today is the foundation of making that worldview our reality. Oop, I have jumped ahead, haven't I? Oop, there we go. So the poster for this worldview could be the 1991 internal memo of Lawrence Summers, who at the time was chief economist at the World Bank. He said, "Just between you and me, shouldn't the World Bank be encouraging more migration of the dirty industries to the least developed countries? I've always thought that underpopulated countries in Africa are vastly underpolluted. I think the economic logic behind dumping a load of toxic waste in the lowest wage country is impeccable, and we should face up to that." Oop. Okay, so wow, that worldview is wrong. It's immoral. This worldview causes more violence, death, disease, destruction, inequality, mental illness, depression, and unfulfilled potential than nature demands. This mindset that says the way it is now is the natural way and the way it must be is the biggest obstacle to change. It is a failure of imagination. Fortunately, this dominator worldview is on its way out, and we need to give it a push. I don't have time today to make the full case that these are harmful ideas, but I want to introduce you to those who do make a strong case for a better alternative. 1, all the people should rule. 2, they should rule collaboratively in an effective democracy. And 3, decision-making should be governed by what best supports life, love, and happiness. This is a world where we say, how can we keep people alive and have a prosperous and healthy economy? And then we figure it out together. So futurists and philosophers have been doing their best for millennia to open our minds to the real possibility of a collaborative, peaceful world in which abundance supports our basic needs. And it's been a grindingly slow process. Okay. Oh. And today's survival needs rapid and radical action. How do we open minds to this possibility? How can we create this vision in such a way that most people can see it, hear it, feel its possibility in their bones, and act? This is the critical question. We each know intuitively that we do our best when we're loved, nurtured, and love what we do. This is also true for an economy and society. Just as babies who are stroked, held, and lullabied put on more weight and develop cognitively and physically faster, an economy that values and prioritizes love, nurture, happiness will thrive at a higher level, even by today's economic measures. This is a right side up economy, one that cares. In a right side up economy, the well-being of people on the planet are the highest values and priority goals. And in an upright economy, we maintain a balance between individual and community needs and responsibilities. There's a lot of agreement about what a right side up and upright economy and society would be like. We'd all be able to choose healthy food, clean air and water. Everyone would have some kind of roof over our heads and healthcare. We'd all have equal opportunity and the education we need to develop our unique gifts. We'd be free to choose the path best suited to us. We'd pay well for the most essential work. We'd caring and nurturing each other, caring for and nurturing the soil that is the source of our nutrients we need, and that sequesters the carbon that could otherwise destroy life. This is a basic vision, It's not about communism or socialism. It's about life and how life survives and thrives. We have all the tools and resources to create this upright economy now. It's a matter of deciding to use them. So what's standing in the way of turning our economy right side up when so many of us agree? It's the failure to recognize, to make visible and count and nurture the caring, collaborative half of our economy. So what's the next step? We have to recognize that a caring economy is possible and preferable to achieve money reform and establish an upright economy. We must move the caring economy out of the view of out of the shadows and into the spotlight. What we ignore cannot prosper. So let's change how we view the economy. And what specifically needs changing? To make women and care work visible. The word economics is from the Greek word oikonomia. It literally means household management. So it is hugely ironic that, that the household work, called the family economy, has been left out of economic calculations and policies almost completely. On the Alliance for Just Money's Facebook page the other day, one of our group members was defending the Trump administration's slowdown of the mail service. He misspelled mail, so I made a joke about female service doing a better job. I got an angry and vituperative retort about feminist nonsense. That's partly why I'm here today. Thinking feminism is nonsense is thinking rooted in the 18th century economic worldview, and it's an obstacle to money reform. It's past time money reform and economics move into the 21st century with a view that supports our survival on the planet. And caring for life is the essence. It means recognizing that, as Rhiann Eisler noted in her 2007 book, The Real Wealth of Nations, Creating a Caring Economics, the real wealth of nations consists of the contributions of people and our natural environment. It means that, quote, to construct an economic system that can help us meet the enormous challenges we face, we must give visibility and value to the socially and economically essential work of caring for people and the planet. Recognizing feminism is not nonsense. It's the key to success for our money reform movement. If the money reform movement is going to be more than mostly old white men with a sprinkle of old women and Black men, it's time to give due and just consideration to the caring economy, a partnership economy, and to how a just money system would serve us all. So what is feminism? Feminism means different things to different people. I like Katrine Marsal, who notes in her easy and highly recommended book, Who Cooked Adam Smith's Dinner? A Story About Women and Economics, that feminism has always been about economics. Virginia Woolf wanted a room of her own, and that costs money. She goes on to say that economics is fundamentally about how we get dinner. In 1776, curiously, the same time the United States of America was aborting, Adam Smith shaped the modern understanding of economics. Marsal notes, quote, Adam Smith told us the story of why free markets were the best way to create an efficient economy. His ideas about freedom and autonomy were revolutionary and radical. Away with duties and regulations. When the market is allowed to operate freely, the economy will run like clockwork, ticking away on the unlimited supply of self-interest, he reasoned. With everyone working to serve themselves, everyone will have access to the goods they need. The bread is there on the shelf, electricity runs through the wires, and you get your dinner. The self-interest of one and all ensures that the whole comes together without anyone actually having to think about the whole. It's magic. And this has become one of the most celebrated stories of our time. In the early days of economics, it was clear that selfishness made the world turn. This idea that some people do what they do because it benefits them, and Adam Smith's invisible hand are the foundation of modern economics. But of critical importance, Adam Smith only answered half of the fundamental question of economics about how he got his dinner. He didn't get his dinner only because the tradesmen served their own self-interest through trade. Adam Smith got his dinner because his mother made sure it was on the table every evening. His mother took care of him from his birth in 1723 until her death in 1784, 61 years later. The concepts of feminism and a caring economy have been knocking on the doors of mainstream thought for more than 200 years. It's past time to let the ideas in and transform our thinking about money and economics. If money reform is to succeed, it's critical that we do so. I've got a short time today though, so let's just go back to the 20th century. This is within our lifetimes. Today, I want to bring you some women thinkers and economists whose insights have been sitting on the shelf and too often ignored, though that is thankfully changing as young women, standing on the shoulders of feminists who have gone before them, refuse to be squashed into a subservient and inferior position in the critical decision-making that impacts all our lives and in the realms of power. First, for impact on economic thinking in the 20th century, let's mention Simon Kuznets. As I mentioned earlier, he was an American economist and statistician who received the 1971 Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences for revolutionizing econometrics. He developed the concept and metrics for national income accounts and helped the US Department of Commerce standardize the measurement of the GDP. The gross national product. First gross national, then gross domestic. Growth in the national income accounts became the standard measure of our economic and societal success. Every economist must talk about and consider what is now referred to as the GDP, and its increase is mentioned almost daily in our news. Well, it's a lousy indicator of our well-being. While sanctifying these measures and the resulting data as holy writ and a basis for fact-finding has been useful, by limiting the scope of attention, it has been quite harmful. Kuznets, in his weighty, many-volume tome about the concept of national income, spent roughly his first 60 pages giving caveats about how he decided what to include in his calculations, and importantly, how the limitations of his data must always be kept in mind. Those caveats seem to have zoomed right over many people's heads. On page 9 of his seminal 1937 work, National Income and Its Composition, 1919 to 1938, Volume 1, Kuznets presented a table of potential variants for definition of economic goods and services that we will count as important and worthy of measure. He explains that he is, quote, excluding most products of the family economy, by which he means all the work that was done to care for each other, to nurture a home and children, and which at that time was not part of the market, the monetized economy. With his effort and its acclaim, 20th century economists locked in the idea that the family economy, the caring economy, the traditional work of women was to be invisible and discounted, and so it has been. And please note, no true economic laws can result from crunching data that leaves out half the economy. Keep that in mind when any economic theorists present theories as laws grounded in the math and science using this half-baked, incomplete data. Remember, garbage in, garbage out. So just a very, very abbreviated nod to a few women in economics. In 1988, half a lifetime ago, New Zealand economist Marilyn Waring wrote, "If women counted, a new feminist economics." Waring made the case that the work of caring and nurturing each other and the work of caring for our soil and the environment is the foundation for generating traditionally counted wealth, and it must be included in our accounting measures. This again is what Kuznets called women's work, the family economy, which 30 years later is still left out of our calculations. Next, one of my favorites, Rhiann Eisler. In 1987, which is also half a lifetime ago, Rhiann Eisler wrote The Chalice and the Blade, Our History, Our Future. It is a profound call to stop seeing the world in terms of capitalism or socialism or patriarchy or matriarchy. It is far more useful to view societies in terms of whether they are dominator models with top-down control or partnership models of mutual respect. Capitalism and socialism can both be implemented as either dominator or partnership. For example, we can choose caring partnership capitalism instead of predatory dominator model, winner take all capitalism. And or we can choose the democratic partnership model of socialism. That is what we see in practice in the Scandinavian countries today. In Scandinavia, it is not the dominator model of socialism practiced last century. This distinction might help people understand our options. In our society today, the domination of someone or some group or other nations is too often taken as a given and the natural way of the world. This dominator worldview believes someone must be on top in control, and competition, survival of the fittest, power over, and dominance are the natural law. Dominator worldviews are often cloaked as the strong protecting the weak, though they're generally fear-based and usually require violence to impose, because really few want to be dominated. Living within a dominator worldview means there's always fear that someone else is going to reach the top and impose control over everyone else. Life's a competitive and stressful scramble. It's a zero-sum win-lose battle. Fear of losing one's position of superiority and the privilege that accompanies that superiority can be fierce when one has no experience with partnership relationships and cannot imagine a partnership society in which everyone is better off.
Virginia, you have about 5 minutes.
Okay, I should make it. I'm almost done. We've had a 4-year lesson in how close to the surface is this fear and the racism and the attraction of imposing one's dominance with violent means of control. It's toxic and it's dangerous. When those who are disrespected, diminished, and exploited demand to be treated as equals, those who see all the world through dominator eyes may think that the demand is to take over and take control. However, the demand is for a working partnership, and we have plenty of people with mediation and issue-based negotiation skills who can facilitate win-win solutions and working partnerships, should we choose to employ them. Most women, Blacks, Native Americans, people of color, people who identify as LGBTQ do not want to take control. We want to be respected as equals under the law and to have equal opportunities. Many of us in the older generation are fed up and not willing to take a back seat anymore. And the young, oh, wow, they are bold, brilliant, and demanding to hold even with the white men in power. They want to be respected as equally worthy human beings, as do we all. So next year at AMI, I hope half the speakers are women. And about selling a just money system. When people swim in this dominator soup of ideas, and we say that we want to shift the privilege and power of money creation from private bankers to we the people, we consistently hear that people believe government is too corrupt, don't want government to do it. People fear an out of control government will create too much new money. Runaway inflation will result. People fear the specter of an all powerful, vague government of technocrats and corrupt politicians creating money to satisfy personal gain. However, that is not the choice we advocate. With just money, a level playing field can reduce the power of a privileged elite and the power of money in politics. Our Constitution frames the possibility of a representative partnership model of governance. The United States was established to form a more perfect union with liberty and justice for all. Even though at the time the Constitution was written, this only meant white male landowners, this ideal can only happen in partnership where everyone is equal and no one is privileged under the law, and there is liberty and justice for all. We blew it when we gave the privilege and power of creating our money to the private banking power, and they tilted the playing field toward domination. Changing the power of money creation will support issue-based collaborative decision-making and give us opportunity to live up to the Constitution's grand vision. Domination is not the natural model. I am here to entreat you to stop seeing a dominator world as the natural world. It's not. A survey of the animal and plant kingdoms will show that collaborative systems are far more integral to life than competition for domination in the natural world. And humans live thousands of years in partnership models before falling prey to the violent patriarchal dominator model that has persisted for the past few thousand years. So there has been a shift back and forth over all that time between the different models. And again, I really recommend Eisler's The Chalice and the Blade. It's a fascinating story, and that book offers a seminal, profound, and incredibly useful shift in perspective, as well as a lot of fascinating historical, archaeological evidence to substantiate it. So there's nothing natural about a male-dominated society. It's a choice. And history and the study of biology and society says it's a lousy choice. Any dominator society rules by violence or the threat of violence. The result is stress and overall poor health, reduced innovation. Rhiann Eisler's more recent books, The Power Partnership and Nurturing Our Humanity, expand, argue, and offer evidence for why we should, and for survival must, choose partnership, please. The true point of feminism is the promotion of a partnership model of society and of the economy, a model of respect for all people, all work, especially caring and nurturing work, and for the environment. We're at least one lifetime down this road and haven't made these changes yet to our common perspective. Let's get to it. So one last book, which I mentioned earlier, and I wholeheartedly recommend, is Swedish writer and international finance journalist Katrine Marsal's Who Cooked Adam Smith's Dinner. Marsal's book ends with a plea that we consider the purpose of economics, and I'll add the purpose of a money system, which is that foundation, is not to try to own the world, but to find a way to feel at home in it. And she says, quote, "Feminism's best kept secret is just how necessary a feminist perspective is in the search for a solution to our mainstream economic problems." The most important message I have is that a better world is possible. We know that we can be very creative. Here's what the great 20th century thinker Buckminster Fuller had to say 50 years ago. "I am enthusiastic over humanity's extraordinary and sometimes timely ingenuity. If you are in a shipwreck and all the boats are gone, a piano top buoyant enough to keep you afloat that comes along makes a fortuitous life preserver. But this is not to say that the best way to design a life preserver is in the form of a piano top. I think that we are clinging to a great many piano tops and accepting yesterday's fortuitous contrivings as constituting the only means of solving a problem. The most critical piano top is the idea that a dominator model of society gets the best results. We've achieved much, but our full potential waits for us to recognize that partnership is a more viable, more successful model for society. So what does that mean for just money reformers? Well, we call it just money because it privileges no one, and it's just money, it's not debt. In the collaborative democratic efforts of all the people, we will create money in a way that forms a more perfect union, establishes justice, ensures domestic tranquility, provides for the common defense, promotes the general welfare, and secures the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. We need you all to establish just money now. And thank you for this opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you, Virginia.
Right.
If this video is helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe for new video notifications. Please consider donating at monetary.org/donate. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter at AMI Monetary or on our website